Hello everyone. In this video, we will be solving two-step equations, and this is the first part. Let's take this first example right here. Suppose we're given 2x minus 1 equals 7. Again, when we say solving equation, we are supposed to isolate the variable. In this case right here, it's x, so we're supposed to isolate x by itself on one side of the equation. Now, we can see here that there is a -1 and there's 2 together with the x on this side of the equation. This means that we're supposed to clear this -1 and 2 out of the left side of the equation so we can have x by itself. Since this is a -1, we remember that the opposite for subtraction is addition. This means that we are supposed to add 1 from both sides. So we're going to add 1 here, and then we're going to add 1 to the right side of the equation. Now, others would don't want to mess up with all the numbers that will come out in the solution. They wanted to have the left side and the right side divided into two parts by putting a dotted line or a broken line just to separate the left and the right side of the equation. We can do that, or you may not write this broken line. It should be okay too. So then we can go ahead and say that if we have a -1 plus 1 is a 0, so this one becomes a 0. So then we are left on the left side with 2x, and then 7 plus 1 is 8. So then we go ahead and, again, we want x by itself on one side of the equation. But since there is 2 right here, 2x equals 8. This means that 2 times x is equal to 8. So this one right here is multiplication. We remember that the opposite for multiplication is division. So then we are going to divide both sides by 2. We're going to divide this by 2. So then we can go ahead and cross out the 2 here. So then we are left with x is equal to 4. This means that the value for x here is actually 4. So if we plug this 4 back into the equation, 2 times 4 is 8. 8 minus 1 is 7. So our x for this is 4. The reason why this is called a two-step equation, it's because we are able to solve for x in just 2 steps only. The first step is adding 1 to both sides, and the second step is dividing 2 to both sides. So there's only 2 steps. At this time, I would encourage you to pause this video and try this problem out on your own. And when you're done, unpause it and check your answer. Okay, so we go over the problem here. Again, our target is to isolate x by itself on one side of the equation. But since we got a 2 and a 3 here, so we need to clear this out because we wanted to have x by itself here. So then we go ahead and say that this is a positive 2. Others are going to say, how did you know it's positive? We remember that there is an invisible plus sign right here. If it's not there, that's invisible positive. So it's actually positive right there. We don't need to write the positive sign right there. So then we go ahead and say that this is a positive 2 plus 3x is equal to 17. Since this is a positive, we remember that the opposite of addition is subtraction. So then we go ahead and subtract 2 from both sides, minus 2 here. Again, you can draw a line on this to separate the left side and the right side of the equation. That should be okay. So then we can go ahead and say that we can cross this out. We're left with 3x is equal to 17 minus 2 is 15. So then I go ahead and write 15 here. So then we are left with 3x is equal to 15. This 3x means that 3 multiplied by the value of x, we don't know what it is, would equal to 15. So this is multiplication. So we remember that the opposite for multiplication is division. So then we go ahead and divide 3 from both sides. We divide this by 3. So then we can cross the 3 out. We are left with x is equal to 5. So this is the value for x that will make this equation up here correct. And this makes sense because if we have 2 plus 3 times 5 is 15. So 15 plus 2 is 17. Did you get 5 as your answer to this problem right here? Good. Perfect. Now let's move on to the next example right here. So we are given 1 minus 4m equals -7. So then we go ahead and solve for m. So as you can see here, it's not x, it's m. It can be any variable. So then this means that again, the 1 here has an, it's actually positive right there, but it becomes invisible, but that's a plus, so that's addition. We remember that the opposite for addition is subtraction, so we're going to subtract 1 from both sides, minus 1. So then we go ahead and cross out the 1 and the 1 there. So we are left with negative 4m is equal to negative 8. Because if we have a negative, 7 minus 1 is a negative 8. Again, others would prefer to have this divided into two sides, the left side and the right side, so they don't mess up with the numbers that are written on the left and on the right. You can do that. So then we can go ahead and say that this is negative 4 times m equals negative 8. So this is multiplication right here. We remember that the opposite for multiplication is division. So then I go ahead and divide both sides by negative 4. Divide this by negative 4. So I can cross out the 4. So we can cross this out. We are left with m is equal to, that's negative 8 divided by negative 4 is a positive 2. So this is the value of m that makes this equation correct. At this time, I would encourage you to pause this video and try this problem out on your own. And when you're done, unpause it and check your answer. Okay, so we go over the problem here. Others might say, oh, what's going on with this? The y is on the right side. In the examples that you gave us from the previous slides, those were all on the left side. Does it really matter? It doesn't matter. Again, our target is to isolate the variable by itself on one side of the equation. So it can be on the left side, it can be on the right side. So in this case right here, I'm showing you example that there are some equations that have variables on the right side. So it's pretty much the same thing since this is a minus 3. So we're supposed to, since we say this is a subtraction, so we go ahead and add 3 from both sides because again, we want y by itself. So then we go ahead and get rid of the 5 and the negative 3. So we start with the negative 3 here since that's a minus. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides plus 3 here. So then this would come out. We can cross this out first. So negative 8 plus 3 is a negative 5. And that is equal to 5y. Again, our target is to isolate y by itself or to isolate the variable by itself on one side of the equation. So then we go ahead and say that this is 5 times y is negative 5. Now, we say that this is multiplication because that's 5 times y. So then we remember that the opposite for multiplication is division. So then we divide 5 to both sides. We divide this by 5. So then we can cross out the 5. On the right side of the equation, so we are left with just y there. And so negative 5 divided by positive 5 is a negative 1. So the value for y here that will make this equation correct is negative 1. So again, this is called a two-step equation because you have the first step here where we added 3 to both sides. And the second step is we divided 5 to both sides. So that's the first step. This is the second step. So then it's called a two-step equation. Did you get the same answer as this? Good. Perfect. If you find this video helpful, hit like and subscribe for more math videos. See ya!